What is going on, everybody? This is your best friend Justin from J Master Productions. It is a really hot day in New Jersey. It's about 95 degrees, so excuse the tank top. I probably look like I just came off of landscaping or farming or something. But it is extremely hot in my apartment here. And I'm sure you guys have heard about this PSYOP. Here we go. A PSYOP. It's PSYOP after PSYOP in 2025. That's really what it's been. If you know, you know. I am not going to get into all the numerology, the numbers, how things connect spiritually with the occult, all those things. I'm going to assume that some of you watching are aware of this, and if you're not, I will link some videos below of other YouTubers that know truth pretty well. Maybe not the whole picture, but they understand, they can connect things for you very well. It's very good for people just waking up and trying to understand how the occult really works, the dark occult, I should say, and how they operate, how they communicate in code, how they use black magic and sorcery to manipulate the masses, all that. But here it is. Here's the PSYOP. Okay, Justin, it's a PSYOP. Why do you say it's a PSYOP? Well, you should probably watch those videos I link below. But let's get into, okay, we know it's a PSYOP, but why are they doing this PSYOP? What's the point of this PSYOP? And really, the two things I can think of when it comes to this, and again, I'm not going to get into the whole spiritual aspect of this particular PSYOP. I just want to talk about PSYOPs kind of as a whole, and these things that go on. Something like this would be a blood sacrifice, right? That is one part of these rituals that the occult do, because really what it is, it's a ritual. It's not what it's appearing to be on the mainstream news. It's completely fabricated stories, and some might find that very hard to believe. But when you have monopolized industry, when you own the jurisdictions of police officers and judges and prosecutors, when you're printing money out of nothing and controlling people's finances and pricing people out, and you own the politicians and the major corporations that people rely on, this is what's going to happen. They're able to fabricate stories, and most people don't realize, because most people don't understand even the history of their mainstream media. They don't know about MK Ultra. They don't know the agendas of the powers that be, because part of this is not only a blood sacrifice where there's either you hear about a ton of death or people actually did die, and whether they did or they didn't, it's sad either way to hear about death. But the occult, not everyone that dies actually dies, but sometimes there's actual civilians, people who are not part of the occult, that might get caught up in these psyops, wrong place, wrong time, and now all of a sudden they're dead. And so that even makes it look realistic to someone, because that might be someone's family member. You might know that person. They might say, oh, well, I know so-and-so was involved in that shooting or this incident or this terrorist attack, and, they're not part of the powers that be, and I know that, and I believe that. But again, if you understand the deeper level on how the powers that be work with MK Ultra and Manchurian candidates, if you know anything about the Manchurian candidates, it's a lot to explain, and I know I'm diverting a lot, but I'm trying to get people to see the bigger picture of what the purpose of these psyops are, the who, what, when, where, why, and how of it. And a Manchurian candidate is someone who's been put under mind control, MK Ultra mind control, and the CIA has already admitted to this many times where they do it. The government being involved as well. They say they don't do it anymore, but you have to be a real dummy to believe what the government is saying, because the government is not your friend. They're always lying to you. They cannot produce anything. They can only take away from people and cause harm, and that's what they do every day. But the Manchurian candidates can be put under a certain hypnosis, let's say, where they can go out and do these things. Or maybe sometimes the person is part of the plan, and they'll say, oh yeah, the person offed himself, he killed himself, right? Because that's always what happens, right, in these major psyops, these major news stories, right? I mean, look at this guy. Like, does this even look like a gun? How is he walking down the streets in New York City with an assault rifle like that? I know you see weird things in New York City, but this is very strange, and this is something that would absolutely capture people's attention before he even steps in the building. How he got in the building and all that stuff, again, I haven't looked into this full story or anything like that, because I don't need to. I already know that this is a psyop. I know that the purpose of this is blood sacrifice and just them doing rituals, the powers that be, right in front of our eyes. And then also it's about a gun grab, because they want people to have a negative viewpoint on guns. I'm not sure if they'll ever be able to accomplish that agenda, honestly, because people in the South, especially here in the United States, take guns as a religion and very passionate about guns. Not saying there's not people up in the North that believe in guns either, but the laws are much more strict up here, especially where I live. It's hard to get a gun license. And you can't even have carry-on here in New Jersey, where I live. You can't have open carry-on, anything like that. So the point is, too, they want people to look at guns and weapons and being able to arm yourself and defend yourself as bad. The government wants you to outsource it to them. They want you to always look at them for your problems that they create. It's not that you see, sometimes there's bad people, right, who might rob you or try to murder you or try to cause harm to you in some way. And the community should be responsible enough to deal with those people. But instead, we have guys dressed in a uniform that we call, who work for the government, who don't work for me and you. They're government employees. They work for the government. They don't serve the people. Government is not the people's friend. Government has laws in place that protect them from us, and laws that screw us by them. And it's all legal. And most people don't care. That's the problem, is people don't care about these things, right? So when it comes to these kind of psyops, they're trying to make you, whatever the narrative is. Obviously, in this, it's a guy had an assault rifle, and he somehow, someway snuck into a building, right? And it was like NFL headquarters on the 33rd floor. If you know anything about the number 33, in Freemasonry, that's the highest rank. A lot of spiritual stuff with 33. Again, I'm not going to get into the spiritual stuff. That's not my wheelhouse. I've done videos with a guy on YouTube named Shammy Deep. You can check out his videos. He talks a lot about numerology. Check out our streams we did together. We go deep into numerology, or he does, and I'm kind of just there asking him questions and listening to what he has to say. But I know that these numbers mean something. I know they're not coincidences, and that's what people need to understand, is that these things that keep happening, especially major news stories, when it's making major news, headline news, when everyone on social media is talking about it, everyone knows about it, the powers that be want you to know for a reason. There's particular agendas behind it. And in this one, because this is making a ton of headline news stories, I think it's just a ritual of blood sacrifice, them showing us who they are and what they're into right in front of us, and us not being able to see because we're all spiritually blind. And it's, of course, to make people look at weapons and guns and defending yourself as bad, as we have to look up to the government or a man dressed in a uniform to protect us when it's in the end of the day, it's our responsibilities to protect ourselves. We should be responsible and grown and caring enough to protect each other in our community, but we don't. You see, people in your community will turn on you in a second if they find out that you voted for the opposite political party of them, or you view the world differently, or maybe you have a different skin color, you're from different countries, or different religion, or different takes on life. Whatever it is, we've been divided on all spectrums, and humanity is very far from where it needs to be in order to wake up and make some actual change, because the issue that I see today is a lot of people now are becoming aware, because, let's be real, they're not really hiding much of what they do, the powers that be. They don't really need to hide who they are, their history, how things came about. Of course, you have to do digging to find it, but it's not that hidden as much as it used to be. And the reason why it's not that hidden, this information, is because it doesn't need to be. People don't care. A lot of people will know. A lot of people are smart enough to talk about these things and actually create change, but they don't do it because it takes courage. You have to actually manifest the sacred masculine, right, that I've spoken about a few videos ago, and take action. And that's very difficult for a lot of people to do, is to take action, because you have to be consistent with it. It's like going to the gym. You can't just go to the gym a couple times a month. You have to go to the gym at least a couple times a week if you really want to see results and stay at it. Or any form of exercise. It doesn't just have to be the gym. But it's the same with this stuff. You're exercising your brain, though. You're opening up your consciousness. You're expanding your horizons on what you could see spiritually. That's what this is all about. And these psyops, they really open up a lot of political agendas as well. Because I haven't seen any of this, but just for example, typically when it comes to guns, and especially assault rifles, you have all the liberals and people who lean on the blue team saying that there needs to be strict gun laws, that maybe guns should even be banned in the first place. I know a ton of people feel that way, that guns should completely be illegal and that there's no need for them. And people will never believe that it's actually to protect you from your government, because the government's the biggest threat to the people that there is. There is no bigger threat to the people than their own government, who constantly is screwing with them, who has been bought out by bankers for over 100 years, who work clearly with the major corporations and all branches of military and law enforcement, It's very clear. It's not hidden. It's just people have such a difficult time seeing things for what they are. They don't want to believe that they've been duped. The last thing people want to do is admit to themselves that they were duped by these people. And I know it sucks. I've had to admit it myself that I was lied to, and it took honestly a long time, really, maybe 7 or 8 years before my consciousness was really when I started waking up to be complete and understand the bigger picture of things, and see that I myself, even though I was awake just a couple years ago, I was still falling for some psyops here and there. And when I say psyops, I mean I fell into the Christianity rabbit hole at that point, the hypermasculine stuff, maybe things like flat Earth even, and things like flat Earth or whatever, religion, again numerology. Like there's things in truth that's not my wheelhouse that I'm not going to dive so deep into. You see, I like to talk about the social issues of the world, and I like to get people to see the bigger picture of things because I notice that people have trouble seeing the bigger picture. It's maybe they could see certain surface level past certain like surface level things. Maybe they could understand that politics is fake, but then they'll go down it's the Jews that control the world, or some QAnon rabbit hole about Trump being a savior and politics is our answer or whatever. People are always going to be falling down rabbit holes of certain things. And my point with why I do what I do is because it's my responsibility. I have a moral responsibility to talk about these things and wake people up because I know I'm right. It might be hard to believe, but if someone just does the research, opens up their mind and their heart, and does the research on what I'm talking about, and really tries to understand it, if they have a normal functioning brain, I'm sure they won't have an issue understanding this. So of course, the really hard part is making the change within yourself, and then taking action, like I said, which is trying to put this information out in the world. You see, you don't have to do videos like I do. You don't have to make a podcast. Maybe you just want to do videos just not showing your face. Maybe you just want to do videos of animation and stuff. Maybe you want to draw, make art depictions. Maybe you want to write, make books, blog posts. But the point is to stick with it, market it out there. Make sure you're actually not just posting it out there because this stuff is never going to get found unless you market it somehow, some way, through social media, through every available social network we have now, right? And market it out there. And do it in an intelligent way. People can understand you. You don't sound crazy. You don't sound unintelligent. You sound like a person who's done their research and knows what they're talking about and has decent communication skills, whether that be through verbal or just writing, whatever it might be. We are where we are right now with humanity, with how bad things are, because people aren't talking about this enough with each other. People aren't taking action. Yeah, maybe people are talking about it. Definitely, there's been an awakening that's gone on because of the internet and the access to the abundance of information. But overall, not enough people are taking action and doing things. It's like people still somehow, some way, think that they can work within the system and create change and get rich or whatever. Bitcoin, whatever it is that people have in their head. It's just people cannot get past it or get through their thick skull, I should say, that you can't work within the system. That the system is just going to keep changing you to what they want. You're not going to be able to make change by working within something that's working against you. Are you forced into conforming to certain things? Because if you don't, you'll lose your livelihood? Yes, absolutely. And we don't want to get it to the point where it's going to get worse to where, all right, we already all have to spend money just to eat food, drink water, and have a roof over our head and have certain stuff in our lives, right? Like a vehicle or whatever. We don't want to get it to the point where we're not allowed to have freedom of thought, to where we can't even speak certain things because we might get in trouble, or there might be something listening to us that captures our audio, and there's a digital ID, face ID stuff, right? That'll just be like, oh, it's so and so. Let's mail him a ticket, or let's send some officers over to arrest this guy and put him in jail for speaking against Big Brother, or speaking ill of whatever they deem is going to be illegal when that day comes, and that day is coming soon. We're almost there. Because again, people don't care about what's coming. There just has to be some world event, something, maybe some other big psyops, terrorist attacks, whatever it might be, alien invasion that they're talking about now, right? In November with the aliens, which maybe I'll discuss in another video, how I feel about that. I don't want to get into it here. But this is another thing too, to put people in fear because they want to have police type drones, robots, where it will be able to predict your next move. That's ultimately what they want. I forgot exactly what it's called, but you probably have heard of it. You know, the government, the U.S. military, and all these things. And when you're super high up, obviously you have access in the military to secrets and working on certain technologies. And they want bots. They want cameras everywhere to where they could basically predict a crime before it happens, be able to stop a crime before it happens. Whether that be maybe it's reading your thoughts because you're going to have certain technologies in you. We're going to be one on one. Our smartphones are going to be inside of us, essentially. So it's going to be able to know what you're thinking. These people are trying to be God. They're trying to be a God. Not that they're already not doing that now with the quote-unquote laws they have in place, how we'll get arrested by one of these guys in a uniform if we're not complying or if we're protesting our freedoms or whatever. It's going to be they're going to send one of their dogs after us to arrest us. We need to really be asking ourselves, are we fighting for the good guys or are we fighting for the bad guys? Because a lot of us support the bad guys. We're just not even knowing it, not consciously, just in their whole thought, the way they live life, their whole life philosophy, the way they would look at someone like me who tells the truth. You know, a lot of people just think I'm crazy or it's nonsense, but clearly what I say is not crazy because it's happening all around you. So much stuff has came true that I've talked about here on the internet since 2019, warning people about stuff. When it comes to this guy right here, right, you know, part of these psyops is they want people to be okay with being able to predict certain crimes and having these technologies. It might sound crazy now, but it just takes certain events to happen, like something like this, or something much bigger and more drastic, to where the people are going to be in fear. They're going to look to the government to make a change. Government's going to just put a pen and paper together. And there goes the people's freedoms because they're trading their freedom for safety and security, right? That's typically what happens. And then before we know it, this technology is going to be on the street. And then because you're thinking that, oh, wow, when people realize what's going on, it's going to be too late. So when people start thinking and realizing, oh, wow, you know, we have no freedom of thought, our future is screwed, we're completely under the thumb of these people 24/7 now, it's going to be too late. And then they're just going to keep putting people in jail, or maybe worse, offing people who don't comply with what they want. That day is coming. Because clearly people who don't comply with Big Brother or whatever, or are not following the system's orders or not doing things the way the system wants you to do, clearly they don't like people like that. Clearly they silence us on the internet all the time. Clearly there's always some sort of censorship with us because people even say to me, I'm surprised you don't have more followers, this and that, because they like my content and they know what I'm saying is true in reality. And it's because my content is never going to get big. And that's okay. I'm not doing this to be like famous or anything. I'm doing this to help people because I have a moral, again, obligation, responsibility to help people. I'll just reloop this. I have a moral and spiritual responsibility to help people who might not be aware because I've done the research on these things for the past 8 years. I'm still, of course, learning. You know, I'm not perfect. I'm not saying I know it all. That's not the case at all. But what I'm saying is I know more about truth and morality, and I could definitely say that I'm down to make the change, and I'm down to manifest the sacred masculine and get together with like-minded people and make the change, and even do this on my own and put stuff out there on the internet, even though people might not agree with it, even though it might ruin my image a little bit. There's going to be people who leave your life, but then there's going to be people who come in your life and understand what you're talking about and want to make change and want to live their lives in the truth and want to understand what their greater purpose is here. And those are the people that we have to help, the people who are actually willing to learn and put themselves through trials and tribulations to change themselves and then go out there and spread this information to other people, which of course is the hardest part. So I think I'm going to wrap it up here. I know I kind of always go all over the place in my videos and I divert a lot. But the point of these psyops is to always put you in fear. The point of it is to always get you to look at Big Brother and the government to make change or get mad at a certain political party. Again, it all depends on what the narrative is. It's either they look at the government to get mad at, to blame, and then there's another side that wants them to just make the change, and then they'll sign something into law. That again takes our freedom away and gives more power to the people in government, these corporations, these technology companies, AI companies now, that basically just have all our information, our data, and pretty much know everything about us at this point. That's why our algorithms know so much about you and distract you a lot, and that's why when you're talking about something with your friend, all of a sudden you see an ad on your phone because it's all listening to you. And soon, again, like I said earlier, very soon the iPhone is somehow, some way going to be inside us.